Frank Gotti, who is the chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Tonight there was a meeting at 525 South Broadway, commonly known as Julie and Wendy's, and what's going on there. Chairman Gotti, what happened this evening?
Yes, we had a very large audience of abutters and concerned neighbors, some from the city, some from outside the city, who basically were in favor of the petition if certain requirements were met. They were concerned about noise, they were concerned about snow removal, they were concerned definitely about public safety, and they were just mostly concerned about the egress and entrance to the proposed area where there'll be a convenience store and a drive-through. Most people, from the way that we read at the meeting, were in favor of the convenience store, but there was a lot of discussion about the drive-through.
And what are the next steps?
Good. After about almost an hour of discussion, the petitioners agreed to ask for a continuance because they could hear the abutters talking specifically about the egress from Sylvester Street, and they made a statement in front of the board that they would take that egress out. As to what will happen next, they're going to sit down with the land use planner, Mr. Dan McCarthy, and look at alternative ways to enter and leave that area. They're also addressing issues of, growth of, a buffer area between the planned convenience store and the neighbors, and they're concerned about setting up parking and also about the snow removal. So we're hoping that the next meeting, which will be in January.
January what?
January 5th, in this same building, that there'll be some concrete plans made by the petitioners. The abutters will have an opportunity to hear it, and the board will have an opportunity to ask questions of both.
Thank you, Frank. Hi, this is Lawrence City Councilor Marc with DCR Commissioner Lambert. Welcome to Lawrence, Commissioner.
Thanks, it's great to be here.
Now, we're here to celebrate the 25th anniversary at Lawrence Heritage State Park. Tell us what's happening today.
Well, it's certainly a great celebration, not only for Lawrence, but for our agency. We treasure these heritage state parks. They're in our gateway cities across the Commonwealth. Lawrence has been and will continue to be a very important city to the Commonwealth. And so to be able to have an opportunity to appreciate some of the natural resources, even in densely populated areas, to celebrate our history, who we are, the values that we share as folks who have come from all over the world to these great cities looking for an opportunity to work. We think that this state park, as much as any other of our state parks and state facilities, represents that preservation of history. And we think it's very important for people in communities to appreciate that history. And so we celebrate that, and we also look forward to the next 25 years and beyond. But we've had great partners here in the city of Lawrence, and we're very pleased with this celebration.
And what do you see in the near future for the state park?
Well, I think that we want to continue to try to use these parks as the foundation for some continued economic development. I myself come from the city of Fall River, where I was mayor for 12 years. We have a heritage park. These parks are often along the riverways that once were the lifeblood of these communities in terms of powering the mills that gave us all work and gave us all a quality of life. And even though our economic conditions have changed, there's no reason why these rivers can't continue to be the lifeblood of these cities. So we want to try to build off the work that we've done here. We've got 4,000 young people in Greater Lawrence who we get out through our partnership in community boating, out onto the river, getting them to do things that they might otherwise not have an opportunity to do. And I think that we can create new histories for that next generation if we're smart about how we use these resources.
Commissioner, thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you to you and your staff for all the work that you're doing here in Lawrence.
Thank you very much, Councilor. We appreciate the support we've gotten from the Council and the leadership of Lawrence. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Lawrence City Councilor Marc, and I'm here today with Marcia Lear, who's the director of Lawrence Community Strings. Marcia, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Just had a great night, so I'm on top of the world.
Now tell us a little bit about Community Strings.
Community Strings is a group of violin players in Lawrence, mostly in Lawrence. The idea is to bring music and beauty to the town of Lawrence through the children and teaching them violin.
And how many children participated in the program?
Well, at this point, we have about 80 of them, 80 children.
Okay. And how long has the program been in existence?
This is our 15th year. We started off with 3 children back here in the charter school, and it's expanded to the after-school programs in several of the other schools in town.
And tell us a little bit about what happened this evening.
We have been preparing for this evening since September. It's our holiday winter concert where we invite the families together. The children are able to buy presents for their families with points that they've earned through practice. There's activities and we eat together. And then at the end it culminates in a big concert for the families.
And the concert lasted for about how long?
About 45 minutes.
And how many songs were played?
We had 8 songs that are in the classical range, and then we had about 8 in the traditional Christmas.
And from this point forward, are there any other big plans you have in the offing?
We do. We have an annual spring concert, and that's going to be in April, and that includes all our children as well.
Well, thank you so much for all that you do. We appreciate all the work you're doing with our Lawrence children.
Yeah.
And I think it's so meaningful. Thank you.
Well, I enjoy it too. I think so. Thank you.
Marc, and today I'm with DPW Director John Sensei, and we're here talking a little bit about the new street ordinance. John, good morning.
Good morning, Councilor.
So what we're talking about today is the fact that we recently passed, the City Council did, a new ordinance that changed the alternate street parking times. Can you talk a little bit about that?
We can. We changed the times from 12 midnight, actually 12:01 midnight till 6 in the morning was the past ordinance. And now it is 12:01 a.m. to 3 p.m. in a good portion of the city. I would say that most of the residential area is going to be 12 midnight to 3 p.m. The downtown area, Broadway, Essex, Common, Methuen Street, some of Jackson and Havel Street will be 12 midnight till 6 a.m., which allows for a little bit of better parking downtown. But in the residential areas, the 12 a.m. till 3 p.m. is going to give the department a bit more time to get the streets pushed back a little bit more.
Now, the time frame, it's always started on December 15th. Is that true this time? And when is it going to end?
It is true, December 15th is the start date, and it, in the past had ended in March 15th. So now it's going to go December 15th till April 1st, which in the case of a light winter, perhaps we'll have a better chance to get the city swept cleanly in the early spring. Normally, sweeping is just as difficult as snowplow.
Now, what's the problem? So this is going to deal with a certain particular issue with the snow plowing. What was it that you were finding when you were snow plowing last year that this is going to remediate?
Well, the city vehicles are typically the biggest equipment on the street. You're going to go out with a truck that's monster in size. You have a snowplow on the front that's anywhere from 9 feet to 12 feet wide. Cars parked on both sides just made it impossible to get through on some streets. And if it snowed heavily, it was obvious that you needed to be parked on one side. Still, people would not conform to those rules. So it made it very difficult, time-consuming. If we go down the street once, you'd think it'd be plowed, but in the case of Lawrence here, that's not the case, because there'd be cars parked sporadically along the street, and you'd have to snake your way through it, if you will. And it didn't make for a clean job. This we hope is going to remedy that. I believe it's going to make us a little bit more cost efficient as well.
And one last question, John, and thank you for your time. If there's one thing that we could talk about that the citizens could do that's really help DPW in the snow plowing every year, what's the one thing that they could do, we could do, that'd be most helpful in making sure that our streets are plowed adequately?
Well, actually, there's a couple of things. One of them is when you see the plow coming, don't throw the car in park. Drive away. Go around the block and let us go through and make a clean sweep. Be number one. Number two is don't throw the snow back in the street. We spend an awful lot of money pushing it to the side, and for some reason folks seem to think that throwing it back in the street makes it better. That's not the case.
Hi, this is Lawrence City Councilor Marc Laplante, and today I'm with Budget and Finance Director Marc Ianello. Welcome, Marc. And this is, by the way, this is your second month here on the job. I want to welcome you to the City of Lawrence and congratulate you once again for the vote here and being a part of our city government. So congratulations.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Now, earlier this evening, we just had a vote on our tax rate. Could you talk a little bit about what happened this evening and what that might mean to the taxpayers?
Tonight's vote was to determine which portion of the tax levy is going to be taxed at the residential level versus the commercial, industrial, and personal property. And the council voted tonight to increase the burdens very minimally to the residential taxpayers and provided a slight break to our industrial and commercial property owners.
Okay. And when should we expect to see the new tax bills going out?
The vote tonight will enable us to first seek certification from the State Department of Revenue to certify all our valuations and votes. And then as soon as we get that, our certification from the state or authorization to send out tax bills, we will send out tax bills on January 1st.
Just so I'm clear, so if a taxpayer receives a tax bill and believes that the value of their property is overestimated, it's assessed more than they believe that the value is, they can come to this office here in the City Assessor's Office at City Hall and fill out a form. The form is actually online, is my understanding. They can actually fill out a form, provide evidence that this is an unfair value, and then the Board of Assessors here will then review those documents and make a determination of whether or not that value, if they're correct in their assertion that their values are overestimated. Am I right about that? Am I
Overvalued, right.
Overvalued.
So if they believe their their assessed value, which is estimated, which will be on their bill that they receive on January 1st, it'll have the according to the assessors what the value of their home is, and if they think that valuation is incorrect, they're certainly welcome to provide any documentation on their behalf and present it to the assessors with the abatement form by February 1st at 4:30 p.m. and the assessors will act on it.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for spending all this time with us this evening on the City Council, and again, welcome to Lawrence, and the best of luck to you and for all of us here as we go forward in the next couple of years. Thank you.